Ladies and gentlemen, you have absolutely been lied to. People have been telling me for months at this point that the Nike Tiempo Legend 10 Pro is on equal footing to the Nike Tiempo Legend 10 Elite. So of course, I had to try it for myself, didn't I? I went out, I spent some hard-earned money on the Tiempo Legend 10 Pro, and while yes, they've got some redeeming features, there is not a hope in hell that these are anywhere in the same ballpark quality-wise as these. And before we jump even into the review, I am going to demonstrate at least one, just one, key reason why, and a key thing that should really easily be picked up in this instance. Why? Why does this boot bend in two? It shouldn't do that. Boots shouldn't do that. If you're looking for a boot with a sign of some quality, you generally want to have a nice, stable midfoot and heel. You do not get that with the Tiempo Legend 10 Pro. That is poor. That isn't even the sign of a €150 boot. I would be upset with that on an €80 boot. So for everybody who's been telling me, just get the Pro, it's just as good, I'm going to tell you now, it's absolutely not. And I will now go through an actual review to tell you why. Let's start with the upper, where we actually do have a bit of a win. So this is a Fly Touch Pro rather than Fly Touch Plus. And you know what? This is really nice. This is a very soft material, and it almost has more leather-like qualities than you're going to get from the Fly Touch Plus. In fact, it probably does. However, there is definitely a difference when it comes to structure. The Fly Touch Plus has more structure in terms of it retains its shape better. I found that the Fly Touch Pro does start to overstretch slightly, maybe lose some of its shape overall, which you might not be worried about. I'm not particularly worried about it either, but it is worth mentioning. It just doesn't have those same properties. It still has the kind of grippy elements around the instep of the boot, which realistically don't do much at all. But the upper on this, how soft, how malleable it is, it's really, really nice. And I think it's absolutely the best thing about this boot. I do have a small problem. With the one-piece tongue area here, and this just feels very cheap. It's such a big drop from the Flyknit here down to this. Now, of course, we're expecting it to drop in quality. You're paying about almost €100 less to get this particular boot. And my problem isn't necessarily that you get this, it's still this issue where people have been really hyping up how absolutely amazing this boot is and how it's just as good as the Elite version. And I'm just saying it's not. And one of the areas you can see it immediately is in the quality of some of the materials, such as what you see through the midfoot there. But the upper is really soft, really nice, and that's definitely getting a big fat up from me. In terms of the touch on the ball, they're similar, but they're definitely more padded on the Tiempo Legend 10 Pro, which again might be something that you like if you are looking for that thing that is a little bit more leather-like, a little bit more like a more traditional leather. Just that little bit of extra padding, just that little bit of extra comfort in the upper of the boot. The downside is, again, materials. The liner on the inside of this boot just feels very cheap. It's very kind of cheap shell suit. You see it a lot in takedown boots, and I just think for a pro level boot that's being touted to be quite so amazing, it's a bit of a disappointment. But overall, still good. Now, I mentioned how soft the upper was, and that applies across the entire boot. Again, you might like this because you might be looking for something that is more leather-like, but this is a very soft midfoot, and it just makes for a boot that does not feel responsive at all. The upper is not responsive. The outsole is flexible. This does not feel responsive in any way. Now, this isn't the most responsive boot in the world, but it's a damn sight more responsive than the Pro variation. Again, I'm not really getting down on the upper being this soft and not having the most amazing responsiveness. I'm just saying that all I've been told is that it's as good as this, and it's quite simply not. However, while talking about responsiveness, something that is a problem, irrespective of price point, is what I showed you earlier, and that's just how bendy and flexy this is. This absolutes me, it puts me off the whole boot. This is ridiculous. There is no reason for a boot of this price, even a first tier takedown, to do that. That's a disgrace. That's shocking. Don't like it. In terms of traction, the stud pattern is exactly the same, so you would think you'd get very, very similar traction, which you do, apart from, again, just the way that this boot bends just means that you don't feel like you get quite as much push off. You don't have the responsiveness, you don't have the snapback, so traction is fine, but again, not on par. Heel is actually an area I don't have a particular problem with. It's comfortable enough. I don't have any pressure points. It seems to hold onto my heel quite well. It doesn't give the greatest heel lockdown in the world, but on the whole, it is pretty good, and I'm not going to complain. It's in that perfect takedown model. They've taken just enough away while still making it very good. As you might expect, because the upper is so soft, because it lacks in so much structure, the lockdown is also not amazing, and it's an area where the Elite absolutely wipes the floor with it. It's fine, but you just can't get enough purchase to really hold and push yourself down into the boot. And when you consider the softness of the upper, the lack of structure through the upper and the outsole, it just means that the amount of lockdown that you're going to get here isn't amazing, even at the price point. Even if we're not comparing it to the upper, to the Elite level model, it's generally not great. Now, I will say that these are pretty comfortable. If you were to just put them on your feet and kind of walk around, because everything is very free, very flexible, it does make them feel very comfortable, which is a nice feeling to have. But I think that once you start running and cutting and moving, the amount of movement of your foot within the boot and the lack of support that you get makes them not uncomfortable, but it just isn't a good trade-off. I'm not willing to trade that much structure for a bit of extra comfort. So comfort is very good, but it comes at a cost. And let's talk fit, where in sizing terms, this is actually very similar to the Elite level model. They have a similar amount of volume, a similar amount of width, although the Pro is slightly wider, will accommodate more people. But which size should you buy? Get your regular Nike size. I would normally buy a US 8. That's exactly what I've got here. Fit is pretty damn good. And in width terms, like I say, slightly wider than the Elite, going to accommodate more people. Would I recommend it for people with wide feet? I would say it is good for people with a wide foot. If you have excessively wide feet, it's still not a boot I would recommend. I'd always say go and find something like a New Balance wide fit boot if that's what you have. But realistically, if you just have a wider foot, or what you would consider a wide foot, these are probably a decent option. So let's talk comparison. We've already, hopefully, confirmed that these are absolutely not in the same boat as this boot right here. These on sale are a far better option than these at full price. And even if there's only, say, 20 euros, $20 between the two boots, you should still absolutely pick up the Elite, which you can get at some really great prices right now. However, to compare it to another brand entirely, let's look at the Puma King Pro. This boot is the reason why I almost said Puma King at the start of the video, because I have been crazy impressed by this pro level takedown model. The upper is not quite as soft, but as a package, I absolutely love this. And if you want to see the full review, click this video right here. Here, this one, there, click the video, click it, click it, click it!